let's start at the beginning. Basically, we all know at this point that Valve confirmed matchmaking several months ago. A small group of people, including myself, Siegel, Enigma, Mana, Eckstein, went to Valve headquarters, talked to Valve, and that's where they confirmed that matchmaking was in the works. Okay? So, fast forward to roughly, I don't know, a few weeks ago, and that's when I was invited to start being involved in some alpha tests of matchmaking. I'm going to lower game volume just a little bit so that my voice can be heard. I started doing some alpha testing and got to see kind of where matchmaking was at, and talked to the developers about what they plan to do for matchmaking. Not much has changed in that time, I would say. So basically, yeah, matchmaking is still in its early stages. That's what I want you all to be, prepared for. Matchmaking is not ready to go. It's still like a very early phase of it all. It's, oh man, all these sounds going off. Blitzen, thanks for the $5 donation. And he says hype. I'm trying to stay calm, I'm trying to not be too hyped. I know you guys are all hyped and have a lot of questions, but so yeah, what I want you all to understand is that TF2 matchmaking is coming. It's being worked on. It's going to take time, and currently the main priority of matchmaking is to test that the actual servers and player queues work, okay? Questions about balance and class limits and all that stuff is not the priority right now. So just keep that in mind. Valve is very open to feedback and suggestions, and they're willing to make, reasonable compromises. But the goal of competitive being integrated into TF2 is that it bridges that gap between a pubber and a competitive player. You know what I mean? So that's what matchmaking is trying to do, so that it's fairly seamless, right? People aren't going to be caught off guard by things. They're not going to be confused and whatever. A lot of people that watch my stream, they look at TF2 as it is right now on my screen, and this doesn't look like TF2 to them. I always say you should play with what your preferences are, but, this kind of is a bit jarring for some people. I play on low graphics. I play on stretched resolution. I play with no view models. So things like this are potentially going to be reviewed when it comes to matchmaking. Just because the idea is that TF2 can be easily accessible to everyone in a competitive format or whatever. Okay? Man, all these donations right here. The Hacks 1337 Guns and Fames is looking for a demo. Want to join? Oh, you're offering me to join your team? No, thank you. I actually have a team, and $3 from Wax. Also, thank you. So now I can start talking about more specifics. That was just the background, right? And also, after I talk about each thing and sort of expand on it, I would appreciate a few questions from chat. I'll try. I know there's a lot of people asking questions, but like I said, I'm trying not to repeat myself too much, because I know there's a lot of questions out there, but I just want to make sure I cover pretty much everything that I know and go from there. Okay? So the first question that is probably on everyone's mind is the graphic settings DX9. All right? So DX9 is going to be required for matchmaking. That is confirmed. DX8 is what I used, lower graphic settings, whatever. My game ran well on DX8. It runs well on DX9, but I mostly ran DX8 for just visual like clutter reduction, and for I don't know. I guess I thought it helped my frames, but I never really looked at my frames anyway. My game was always smooth. Didn't really matter to me. I did switch to DX9 to play matchmaking, and I have been able to turn on a few commands that make it feel and look very similar to DX8. So that hasn't been a problem for me. And now I'll explain basically the reasoning. The reasoning behind DX9, it goes back to what I was already talking about. It's about standardizing the appearance of the game, so that, you know, people don't have to come in and see my stream on DX8 and they load up their game and there's no way for them to reproduce that. Also, and this is probably the most important thing really, is TF2 is going to get a lot of attention with this matchmaking update. You know, streams are going to be eventually featured in the main menu or somewhere that's easily accessible. So streams are going to be put in the faces of your average TF2 player. You guys might not be the average TF2 player. You might not be like the newest TF2 player out there, you know. So you guys are a little bit more familiar with what's going on. But if someone is brand new to TF2 and they find a stream and the game looks completely different, it's a little bit, it can be a little bit shocking. So the idea is just to make it standardized so that TF2 on stream is TF2 in game for people. The other thing is that you know, if it's being streamed and it's supposed to attract attention and it's supposed to attract other people to play the game. Basically, you don't want the game to look dated. TF2 is an old game, but I think it's still a beautiful game, but there are certain settings that can be turned on that make the game look extremely bad. Like, even what I have to a lot of people looks bad. What I have right now is not the worst. You know, you can get like almost flat textures. You can get things that look incredibly old, and in today's day and age, like, you can't really, I don't know, you can't really convince a lot of people out there to try a game that looks like Quake or something, you know? It just doesn't look modern. And TF2 can look modern with you know, certain graphic settings, but not like zero graphic settings. So yeah, the big idea there is that you want TF2 to look like an appealing game. And I, at first, was curious about it, why DX8 is being phased out, for matchmaking at least. And after hearing that, I was satisfied, because the only thing I want is for TF2, which is the best game ever, to be incredibly popular and yeah, just like a big game with a healthy competitive scene. And if that's the compromise like that we have to make, I hope you guys can all be on board with that. The other thing to keep in mind is that TF2 performance will be worked on. Optimizations, you already got a sense of that in the most recent update. There were, you know, a nice long list of changes there, and I think that's the kind of thing that will be continuing to happen. So yeah, that's the DX9 question. All right. Other questions. Other questions. Let's think about it. I mean, what other questions do you guys have, really? One other thing that a lot of people asked me about recently. Oh, look at this. Blim Blamer. Thank you for the sub there. 3 subs. What about custom HUDs? All right. The custom HUDs, great question. So custom HUDs was something that I was asked about, directly by the development team. I do not really use a custom HUD. I use a few custom elements. But I understand that a lot of people enjoy having a custom HUD, and as far as I'm concerned, maybe someone out there knows better, but custom HUDs don't seem to offer any advantage. So I made a case that custom HUDs should be allowed, and it seems that the idea is just that no player can have an advantage by having a HUD. That's like the baseline that Valve wants. So as long as that is the case, custom HUDs are currently seen as acceptable, okay? So custom HUDs and custom files should be something that you will have, you know, some control over. Okay? So hopefully that's good news to a lot of you guys. What else about custom HUDs? The other issue though is a lot of configs and custom like files and settings cause some instability with TF2. So currently in matchmaking, there are restrictions on some commands. So that's something to be aware of. Like I said, it's a very early state of like competitive right now. And the main goal right now is just to make sure the system works and that people can play it and they won't just crash immediately when launching the game. So a lot of people will have custom files. Today we tried to do a test run and it got delayed because for one, a lot of people had some custom files that were causing crashes when they do matchmaking. So those kinds of things are gonna be looked at. I sent over my FPS config to Valve. They looked through it to try and narrow down some of the issues. Because actually, the first time I ever launched matchmaking on, I think it was DX95, my game just like froze. So I sent over my configs, and they took a look through it to try and narrow down those problems. So they are trying to make it so that you can use the files that you're used to, the settings you're used to, but in a way that doesn't break the game, like literally doesn't crash the game. But at the same time, also FPS configs. There are some commands that are unnecessary, it would seem. According to the people that actually coded this game, a lot of FPS configs have commands in them that actually hurt more than they help. So a few of those have been changed a little bit to like reflect some common settings or been restricted. So there are restrictions on a few commands, and those are up for debate. You know, what the average TF2 player really needs control over, but a few of them are going to be restricted. And there's no final list on that, but for now, there are restrictions in place. If you think about games like CSGO, at least, I have a little bit more experience in CSGO than I do in like Dota or something, the other games that Valve has matchmaking for. CSGO is very standardized. A lot of commands are restricted, and there's not so much customization. TF2 just has been, from the beginning, customizable, so they're not going to completely kill that, but there is going to be some degree of, you know, standardization. So that's what you should be expecting. Yeah. And when I do the actual playtest, which will be very soon, with a few of my peers, I will try to point out a few of the commands that are currently restricted that will probably no longer be restricted, or there will be some debate over, and there will be a happy compromise reached. Okay? So, any other questions? Let's see. View models, FOV settings, view model FOV settings. So like I said, I did send over my config to Valve, they looked at it and they have a fairly good understanding of what a fairly standard like config looks like from players. So what kind of commands are the basics, FOV, view model FOV, those kinds of things. Those things will be restricted to some degree, but to like a reasonable point. When I do use view models, I use a 7D view model. I believe that their limit set right now was 75, but I think that that might still be a bit low, and I think that they'd be able to raise it, but I think the idea is that you can't, I don't know, certain things that are insane, like, I don't know what you can do with, like, look at that. My view model is like on my crosshair. Things like this, while TF2 is a silly game, this kind of stuff might not be around forever. Yeah, but if you use something that looks like TF2 and looks reasonable, it should be allowed. You know, it should be, it'd be reasonable to expect it to be possible. Other things I'll note about view models. So view models are a little bit, they can be a little bit of a controversial issue, I guess, when it comes to understanding of TF2 from a spectator's perspective, especially a new player's perspective. I often, when playing Scout and Soldier, which are probably the class I play the most, I actually hide my view model. So, and that's a preference thing, but I can't tell you how many dozens and hundreds of times I've been asked, where's your hand? Where's your weapon? Where's your gun? And that's like exactly the experience that I think Valve is concerned about. If you could, apply that thinking to other commands. So one thing that Valve has mentioned that they'd be interested to do is actually adding transparent view models as a built-in option. I know there's a plugin right now that you can use to put transparent view models in the game, but having that built in to the game is a possibility, because that would be sort of a compromise, you see, between no view models and view models on. Still nothing set in stone. View models off may still be an option, but hopefully, again, like the DX9 issue, you guys would be able to embrace transparent view models if it made the game more accessible. I just hope you guys are all on the same page about that. It's a small price to pay, I would say, but again, nothing is set in stone. So that's kind of how I approach this. If I feel like it's a fair compromise where the gain is sizable and the loss is, I don't know, it's not really that enormous, I'd generally be in favor of it, just because I want TF2 to thrive. So that's that. Moving on, other questions that seem to be popular here are weapon bans and class limits. That seems to be a popular question, understandably so. In the current state of matchmaking, which again I will be playtesting very soon, and you guys will all see, there are not going to be weapon bans, and I don't think are going to be class limits. However, that being said, in the first few tests, we will try to recreate some sort of, standard competitive experience. Keep in mind, today we can only do a 4v4 queue, but that's not the priority of matchmaking right now. Like I said, weapon bans and those kinds of things are not really what this phase of matchmaking is about. So it's still very early, and those kinds of things may change. Those kinds of things may become a priority later on. But right now, that's not what matchmaking in the alpha or beta or whatever you want to call it right now, that's not what we're trying to work on. That's not the focus, okay? So yeah, we'll try and do like a standard 4v4 with maybe some standard competitive classes that you'd expect, like Scout, Soldier, Medic, Demo. But I think we'll also try and push the limits and make it like do some silly stuff, some crazy stuff, just have fun with TF2, but keep in mind, you know, it will look kind of like a queued pub at times, probably, but that's the point, right? Bridging the gap between beginners and competitive players. Okay? And people are asking about specific items, things here and there. Specific items, also, like, those kinds of changes are not the focus of this phase of matchmaking, but matchmaking will be used to gather data, and TF2, as you've recently seen, has, in the Tough Break update, has a lot of balance changes that, you know, could be coming. I'd say that was only the beginning. Stock or Pro Viaduct? Okay, questions about custom maps. That's actually a great question. I asked about custom maps, and custom maps will most likely not be included in the queue, like pro versions of maps. However, the stock version of maps can be updated if necessary. They can be changed. So things like on Viaduct that you're used to, like that tunnel on the flank, if that is, you know, proven to be and unanimously like accepted, that's the kind of change that could be implemented into the map. Okay? We don't really play that many custom maps anymore, really. We play Process, we play Snakewater, we play Gully Wash, we play Badlands. You know, changes that were made to like Granary were pretty minor, and some of them probably rushed. So I think having another chance to fix some of these maps would be a good thing, honestly. But yeah, that's the current state of things. That's the current consensus. Sunshine. Current popular competitive maps may be added. That's not something that I know the current status of. Oh, Catsy, thanks for the 14-month resub, my friend. Also, I got a donation from Trashork who says, "What will crosshairs be like? I won't be surprised if Valve tosses out HUD crosshairs. I don't think CSGO's setup would work in TF2. Too many different crosshair shapes." I actually don't know too much about crosshairs, any changes coming to crosshairs. But you did mention CSGO. I wouldn't be surprised if the level of customization that you have in CSGO would be seen in TF2. You already have a decent amount of customization, I would say. I don't know. Those kinds of things, I feel like a lot of crosshairs are like a luxury. It's not a really high priority in my opinion. So high priority fixes are kind of what I'm focused on right now. They're going to be regular VAC ban waves. I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know any updates about VAC. A lot of questions about hackers. Hackers in matchmaking will probably be discouraged. Again, I don't have any specifics on how that will be approached, but currently to get access to matchmaking, you have to have a beta pass. As you all know, it's an item that sits in your inventory, and Valve has to decide how they want you to acquire that. I still don't know. I might be able to get an update on that, but right now I do not know. Will there be any more competitive passes given? Yes. So right now, today, there's maybe about 25 people that have competitive matchmaking beta passes. I was given codes to give to people. They activated them on Steam. I was given 20 codes, and I mostly gave them to top invite players because those are the players that I don't know, they're the people that I know, and they're the people that I know care about TF2, and the people that I know have some sense of what competitive TF2 looks like. So I gave 20 passes out to people I know, but there are plans to rapidly expand the beta. Most of these changes, keep in mind, the timing's a bit weird because right now is the holidays. Tomorrow's Christmas Eve, and people are going on vacation over at Valve, so it's going to take maybe a week, but it will be expanding rapidly. There are lists of people who are getting in. There are, probably going to be invites that people will have to give out, all that kind of stuff. So, matchmaking right now, it's pretty narrow, pretty small, very tight group of people involved, but it's not going to be like that forever. Keep in mind it is a beta. Also, Catsy donated $50. Thank you so much, Catsy. Crazy man. Everyone here, thank you all for being here, for following, for asking questions, participating in chat. Donations and subs are always appreciated, so thank you so much. Catsy says, "Hi, Grant. I've been at work the last 7 days, so I have no idea what's going on with matchmaking. Is there somewhere I can catch up on the latest about it?" Well, my stream is pretty much the place to be right now, because I am in matchmaking. I'm going to do a test today. I've just spent the last 20-30 minutes talking about matchmaking. I will highlight this and upload it, and you can look at it. Hit sounds and crits and bullet spread. Okay. In the current state of matchmaking, there's fixed spread, no crits. Custom hit sounds. My hit sound works in matchmaking. Like I said, custom files within reason should be allowed. Here's a $4 from sub Hubbles. Thank you, Hubbles. Says there's no way spraying will be allowed in matchmaking. Also, one more thing. What about taunting? Seems like that's something that will make seriously mad. Taunting is part of TF2. I think it's something that gives TF2 its charm. Oh my god. See that? I just shot a crit rocket, which won't be in matchmaking, but then I taunted. It was funny and silly. Would you be mad if that happened to you? You gotta learn to laugh that stuff off. Spraying? I actually don't know about sprays. Didn't they disable sprays in Counter-Strike? I could be wrong. But, yeah, I don't know about sprays, so I can't comment. Sorry. Will the ranks be individual classes? Okay, questions about ranks and classes. So, at the moment, matchmaking will, in its simplest form, be smaller queue sizes, such as 6v6. Well, I mean, today we're going to do a 4v4 just because we're kind of technically limited. But we will expect a 6v6 to start with. And most likely there will be a unified rank, I think. I don't know. Currently, I have one rank, and I have stats that are across the board. I'll show you the layout and the menu momentarily. But right now, my rank is just one rank, okay? I don't know if they will change that, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be one rank. I don't know how they'll handle ranking up in the future, but currently, if you win a match, you gain rank. If you lose a match, you lose rank. And there's just one rank. I'm being told from Valve themselves. There is one rank, so there's no individual class rankings. There's one rank, and you have your TF2 rank from playing. Other things, Highlander, 9v9, those kinds of things. A lot of people are curious about that. To start off, it should be 6v6. I think 9v9 is a little bit more complicated. Highlander especially is complicated. Just guaranteeing that you get the right classes queued up, you get the right people in. So just because there's no there's no obvious solution for that right now. 9v9 I think is being being tabled, or they're taking it slow at that. Still trying to brainstorm. What else? Voice codec people are asking about. I don't know about a voice codec update, but I would hope so that happens. I believe they updated it for Counter-Strike, so that's that. Interp limits. Currently there is an interp limit, but that's something that that was one of the first things that I noticed when I played it, and I told them that I think interp should be more freely adjusted, and they said, yeah, we will add a built-in option to adjust your interp. Ult-to-do on B-ball, currently that's not on the table, I don't think. And yeah, I think we're going to be queuing up now to do a matchmaking test. So unless there's any other questions, I think I'm going to get started here. So thanks guys so much for bearing with me through that. I'm going to queue up now and we're going to play. Just keep in mind everything that I said regarding how matchmaking looks and what it, I don't know. The goal of matchmaking, keep that in mind. This is supposed to make TF2 accessible and fun. Just to play, very easy, okay? A few of the commands you're gonna notice, for me, the first thing I noticed, brightness is restricted, could be changed. A few graphic settings were restricted, could be changed. Interp was restricted, could be changed. Things like that I noticed immediately, but other than that, hey, things seem to work, okay? So I'm queuing up now. The whole UI, all the graphics, those can also be changed. This is all going to be updated as time goes on, and I'm excited to share it with you guys as they add new features. So this is just the first look, I guess, at matchmaking. The other thing that I'll say is there were a lot of crashes when queuing at first, and so a lot of these graphics or other command restrictions are meant probably to eliminate those crashes, just to make sure that this stuff can be used. I had to try it in default mode, and then it worked the first time that I was matchmaking. Since then I have been able to play on just any settings that I want. I fixed it. I chose 6v6. Yeah, that is just it's just like a placeholder. At Valve, they can actually twist the knobs and choose what the queue size is. I've queued up 1v1, I've queued up 2v2, 3v3, 4v4. So the queue size that you see on the menu is, well, I mean, it'll eventually be the queue that you use, but right now Valve has tweaked the numbers for us. And I'm going to join up to Mumble and I guess start seeing what's going on. In a moment, I want to make sure to read these donations here. Pman777 donated $2.69. I'm so proud of you. Also, turn up. Yeah, turn up, boy. Tonight's the night. $2 from some AC dude. Thank you. Isn't UGC Miggy just the cutest? I have no idea who that is. But yeah, I guess. So I'm going to unmute now. We're going to queue up and we're going to play. I'll answer some other questions while we're playing, I guess, but that was, I think, I think I hit most of the main topics there. So thanks again for your questions, guys.